Hey y'all. So I am mixing pancakes in the kitchen. About to see some something to eat, but I wanted to hop on to talk about. This is what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to hop on because hi sister. I was just in the shower, kind of having me a good cry session. And hey, beautiful, how are you doing today? Girl, I just wanted to come on and chat right quick. I was just in the shower having like the best cry session, a very needed cry session, just letting the water wash away the things. But it hit me that, we're in cancer season and I don't know if we necessarily like equate cancer season with grief, but I feel like cancer season is it's a time of year when a lot of grief comes up, like the feeling of grief, the you miss your people because you're thinking about your people. You're thinking about your family, you're thinking about past generations, you're thinking about lineage, you're thinking about what could be, what was, where you came from. And so I was thinking about that. And I started my rising with just thinking about my people, thinking about my mom, thinking about my late husband, just thinking about all the people that I miss, thinking about my dad, thinking about those who have recently transitioned, which is, yeah, it makes sense, right? Which is a very, um, very Cancerian type of theme. One thing I always notice when I have a good cry is the lightness I feel afterwards. And it just reminds me of how things, it kind of reminds you of what you were holding and the heaviness of what you were holding. Because when you let it out, you feel this lightness. But it's like that every time. So it just, it kind of makes you wonder how much are we holding, child? How heavy is it within? And how can we practice just giving ourselves more grace and more space to just really just get out a good fucking cry? Because a lot of times a good fucking cry is needed. Um, and as a cancer, as a cancer girl, I'm used to crying. I think I've come to terms or, embraced the emotionalness of the cancer, but in the emotional superpower of the cancer, because I think a lot of us grow up and we're like taunted for our emotional state, or being emotional. You always hear that back about cancers, but I feel like the thing that we're taunted about is often the superpower, and that goes for all of us. So we are these emotional creatures, but at the same time, with that, we're able to, our emotions are on the surface. They're very much they on deck. They're on stage. You can't really hide them. They also don't want to be hidden. They're just out there. Hey V. So as cancers, we are, we can be, I feel like we can be great emotional teachers as well, because we're just built the way that we're built. Our emotions are just right there on the front line. And we have no choice but to deal with them in like this very in your face type of way, because our emotions are in our face. So, but yes, I think. how do we move through grief while we're in cancer season? And so I'm having this cry, and I'm I'm feeling down, then I'm feeling up, and then I'm listening to music, and I start to get this feeling, as I usually do when I have a good cry, when you're thinking about what was, or you're thinking about loved ones that have passed. I always, anytime that I get into a good cry session, I always start to, like, when I come up out of it, I have this urge to just live. So that's where I'm at right now. That's why I hopped on to specifically say, I feel like grief teaches us a lot of things. And I'm often talk about, what grief has taught me. But one of the most important things, when I allow myself to like feel the grief that I have, on the other side of it, I'm always reminded I have this urge, this fire that boils inside of me to live. And then I start asking myself, the questions, baby. Okay, how do you want to live today? How do you want to live? How can I, in this moment, be a part of the living part of life, um, instead of just the walking part of life? Because I very much know, just because we are alive doesn't mean we are alive. There's a difference. And you could be either walking blind, or you can be walking with intention, right? So, how do we choose to live? What does living look like for us? And when we're thinking about transition, Cancer season is a very ancestral month where think about legacy. I was on Substack earlier, and oh, I forgot who it was, but I can't get her name. It's on the tip of my tongue. But she shared a picture of her mom, and it triggered me. I think that started the whole thing. Yeah, one step at a time. And it like triggered me. And I start thinking about my mom, and my mom's birthday is coming up, and her birthday is like 2 days after mine. And that sent me into this whole thing. But I'm always grateful for these moments, I think, in the remembrance. And yes, V, one step at a time. Again, in the remembrance part, we can remember the transitional states, but it's also so much important, and I remind myself it's so important to remember the living state as well, to remember the life, to remember our people in those little pockets and experiences that we had with them, and those memories of them just living, and what that meant for them, and what that felt like for them, and what that felt like for us to be in the mix with them, doing this living, and living this life, and all of those things. I feel like it's important to reflect, and it's healing to reflect. And I don't know, I just think that July is a great month to sit with our grief. And to sit with it from a place of, what does it empower me to do? How does it empower me to move? What can I gather from this place? And it doesn't always have to be a depressing type of thing. And I will tell you, I went through all of the I went through all the emotions this morning. So, it was a little sad. It was a little, depressed, and then I got happy because I find that, the grief takes us through a lot of emotions. There's a wave, right? And it's not necessarily the emotions aren't necessarily feel bad emotions too when we're grieving, if that makes sense. It doesn't have to be a bad emotion. You could be grieving and you could be also in this serene and happy place too. Yeah, so many ways. So, we can you can be down and then you can listen to a song and that just puts you in a memory of this time and it just wakes you up, and then next thing you know, you're dancing, you're singing, you're still grieving. However, you're grieving from a place of joy. I think in the Western world, we are programmed to grieve in a certain type of way. And that's something I've been thinking about lately too. Just programmed to grieve in a certain type of way. So for us over here, there is a reprogramming that there's a reprogramming that I think has to happen, or if it happens, it's beneficial to how we move in life as we're grieving. Because if we're thinking or if we're feeling like the end is the end instead of the end being the great transition, of course that grief is going to be a little harder. Of course it's going to feel like you have nowhere else to go. But when we can see life as this, continuous, beautiful, infinite thing, then it changes the way that we grieve. Yeah. So this Cancer girl, and right now I am cooking me something to eat. I think that's the perfect. I think that's the perfect way to come out of just come out of a funk. Feed yourself, treat yourself, all those things. But yeah, I just was thinking. I just really came on and say, every time I get into a state of grief, it encourages me to live. And I always think about, like with my mom, I think about how much I feel like she wanted to live more than she did. And I think about also her having the courage to to do the things that she could, to do what she can, to live in the way that she could live. And I think about myself and being like the progression of the evolution. And with that, what does it mean for me to live? And how does Kayla want to live with all that Kayla knows and with all that Kayla is and with the lineage and the ancestors behind me? How do I want to live? How are my children going to look back at my life, and how I chose to live my life and what life looked like or felt like to me to actually live it? Mm, so many questions. Yep, so important to eat a comforting meal. Yes, so important to eat a comforting meal. You know, we have to we have to pour into ourselves. I think when you're pouring out, you got to pour back in. So that's gonna be my way of pouring back in, baby. Eating this food, pouring back in. I've been in And my sister said something before I go. My sister said something to me the other day, and she was just like, I don't know how you do it. You're so strong and da 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 da. And in my family, I'm the strong one, child. I am known as the strong one. I am one of five sisters. Well, I have five sisters, two stepsisters, three sisters. Anyway, childish, three mamas, baby. So I'm the middle child. But in the life that we live, it's like I'm the oldest child and also the responsible one, the strong one, the this, the that. So I hold a lot of roles within my family unit. And I found myself like even in the rising, it's oftentimes when you're like the strong one, you feel like you can only it's just like who do you expunge to, child? Who do I talk to about this? Because everybody's always looking to me to talk to, everybody's always looking to me. So who do I talk to? Um, and a few years ago, I just really, it really dawned on me that, you know, God was the one to talk to. I could always pull those elevated ancestors in. But also, most importantly, I don't always have to be the strong one. I can allow myself to be vulnerable. I can allow myself I can allow myself to fall on the floor. It is okay to allow myself to just be, and it's okay to allow God and my elevated ancestors to be strong for me. But oftentimes that strong one things we can overplay the strong one role because you feel like I think like sometimes we over identify with the strong one and it's fucking overrated. Being strong all the time is fucking exhausting. Nobody is, we tired. The strong ones are fucking tired. And what happens is you just get tired, you get super tired, and then you just say fuck it, and then you don't want to do anything. And you ain't got nothing for nobody, not even yourself. So shit, as the strong one, you have to let yourself break down. You have to say, I'm on my knees today. As a matter of fact, I'm on my belly with my hands stretched out. I don't have it. Um, I don't have it to give. I am scooping it up to put in a bag for myself for later. But right now, here I am, and I'm on the floor. Being strong is overrated. But when she said this, I realized, yes. And I also told her, God, like the old people say, God gives his hardest battles to his strongest warriors. So with all the experiences I've had in my life, I do firmly believe that. And there's a lot of things I look at in specifically in my own family, and I look at like who could have handled it, and I look around and I say, shit, it couldn't have been nobody but me. It had to be me. It had to be me. Damn. My goodness. But I can see that it had to be me. I don't know all the whys right now, but I can see that. And I think, for a spiritual women, the inclined, the intuition, the intuitive, we know a lot, especially when when we're growing in the roles and we're like, when we become aware, purpose, and all those things as we're trying to learn about ourselves and deep dive into this fucking life shit. It's like, okay, I can maybe see why. Yep, my natal chart told me I needed to be this for my family and da 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 da. I can see that. But damn, you know. What do we do with that? The hardest battles and being the strongest. What is the prize? Girl, as the hood hella would say, the prize is in heaven. 'Cause the prize is in heaven. Oh my goodness. Cause yeah, what is the prize? You know? And that's a real thing. Um, what we find, you realize, I think it hits us as we're doing life. It's like it had to be you. And you realize sometimes that yeah, the prize is in heaven. You're not gonna get that gold bar now. But you had to be here to do this specific thing and play this specific role so that you can be the puzzle piece for this purpose and that person, or to connect that dot, or to say that specific thing to open a door for that person or that era or that movement or that realization, because it's all puzzle pieces. uh and yeah, it's like, I feel you, be like, what the fuck, where is my prize? Shit, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. So oftentimes we know, you know, you can know. And I'm a firm believer in, like, you can know and still not understand. I know a lot of shit right now. Like, I know, but I don't get it. I don't get the why. I know, but I don't get the why. I'm still working on the why, God. And shit, I don't, some things we're not ever gonna get the why. I think that's a part of life. And when you know everything, you know, when you know everything, you've transitioned on, child. You're not even here anymore. So I think the why is a part of the plot. I think that's a part of the plot. I don't even think we're supposed to know. Not all of it. A part of the journey is just sitting here doing what I'm doing now, just, talking and wondering and inquiring and exploring. And yeah, it's so funny. So for all the strong ones in July, may we remember that the strong ones can cry too. And let me tell you, something I've learned as well is that, emotions doesn't make you weak. Actually, emotional intelligence makes you very, very strong. It makes you very I feel like it levels up your discernment too. When we are not only emotionally intelligent, but emotionally graceful. I feel like it helps with our discernment, because when we are repressing our emotions, we're also, in my opinion, repressing our intuition. Think that emotion is a compass. Is a tool for the compass and the pointing of what the fuck should we do. So I don't ever believe we should downplay the feeling or how we feel about something. Because the feeling where logic may fail us, because a lot of times, logic is a part of the program, child. So where logic may fail us, the gut, the emotion, the feeling has our back. So, if we need to cry, y'all, we're going to cry. Whenever you're triggered during cancer season to shout, to scream, do that. And cook a home cooked meal afterwards. I love y'all. See y'all later.